Welcome back to the Free Spirits Podcast. I am Lars Miller here with my co-host David Gonzalez. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please rate, review, subscribe. It really does help us grow. Today we have our first ever emergency podcast. Our guest is Chris Lackner, founder and president of the Hemp Beverage Alliance, who's been at the center of the fight over the proposed federal ban on the hemp-derived THC beverages and the broader hemp industry as well. Chris, thanks for joining us at this critical moment.
No, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So the last week has been quite the whirlwind. We've had a couple unscheduled HBA meetings, the Slack channels, as well as social media has been blowing up, negotiations, lobbying, amendments, and a ton else, but mostly confusion.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the timeline of the past 7 to 10 days and what's been happening behind the scenes?
Yeah. So we are absolutely in peak fog of war right now, and there's a lot of information going around, a lot of confusion, et cetera. And that's for a lot of reasons. One is that most of us in the industry are not students of government and do not follow along with maybe didn't follow that textbook in our sophomore year in high school, how bills become laws, et cetera. But here's where we are. So the government shut down. The hemp beverage industry is 100% entwined with the opening of the government. Whether that was by design, default, or whatever, doesn't matter. But here's what happened. Congress was negotiating the opening. In their negotiations, they agreed to include 3 appropriations bills to fund 3 different sectors of the government. There are 12 appropriations bills total that get discussed, but they said we're just going to talk about 3. One is military construction. One is, I forgot what it's called, federal government. And the other one is agriculture. Now, the agriculture one is the one that matters to us. So we've got 3 appropriations bills. One is agriculture. Inside of that agriculture appropriations bill is 7 pages of language that essentially says that hemp as we know it can no longer exist a year from when this bill is signed. This language is pretty onerous. It allows for 0.4 milligrams of THC per container in a finished product. It also has some other aspects that could have real profound negative implications for products and farmers and supply chain well outside of hemp beverages. But for our purposes, there is a disastrous language that got inserted into an agriculture appropriations bill without discussion or debate, and forced into the opening of the government, which, as everybody would know, is a very important issue right now. And so we are a very small yet extremely important issue to our industry attached to a very bigger international issue, which is the opening of the government. The Senate passed I forgot when it was, Tuesday, I believe. Was it Tuesday? Yeah, it's only Wednesday. I can't believe that. Earlier this week, the Senate voted in favor of the bill package to open up the government. The next step is that it gets thrown over to the House. The House of Representatives then votes on the same bill. Now, they have 2 options. They can either vote for it as is. Well, I guess 3 options. They can vote it down, or they can create amendments and send it back to the Senate for the Senate to sort out again. Now, realistically, given where we are in the discussion and debate and the fact that we're 45 days into a government shutdown, it is regrettably highly unlikely, but not necessarily a foregone conclusion, but it is unlikely that the House is going to remove that disastrous hemp beverage language, or that hemp industry language. So the next step after they approve it would be that the bill gets sent to the President of the United States. The President then signs it. And then we have this ticking clock of 1 year of implementation, in which we very much hope is going to be used to fix this mess, as opposed to just ride out the rest of it. You weren't recording.
So, Chris, I have to admit, watching the HBA Slack channel and seeing all the communication and all that, it was popcorn stuff. Obviously, it's a very interesting and strange process to kind of have your fate as an operator hang in the balance and kind of watching this vote happen and the implications of all that. But I think what really stood out was the constructive conversations and things that took place in that Slack channel. To your point earlier, I think a lot of us wish we had paid more attention in civics. A lot of softball questions on what's happening. What does this mean? Do we vote yes? Do we vote no? Do we want this to be a yes or no? But it was all in all, I think, just an experience where all of us realized that when you come together, you can make an effective change And things like these happen with newer marketplaces, newer industries. But I think you did a fantastic job probably answering our next 5 questions with your first answers. So I think what we're also wondering about is what are the real implications for this now that there's this, assuming this house is or passes the House and this does go into effect, what are the implications for operators in this year-long window? Is this something where it's everything must go for the next year? Is this a situation where it's be patient and wait? I guess what are some of the sentiments, the positions of some of the people involved in the supply chain? So I think there's a lot of uncertainty on, are people still going to be growing crop? Are people still going to be providing supplies? What's kind of this next wait and see approach? What should this look like for people who are active operators in this space?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And this is certainly something I want to impress upon everybody. The hemp beverage industry is the same as it was last week, right? It's going to be the hemp industry, the hemp beverage industry is the same. It's going to be the same next week, next month, and even next year. It's business as usual. We have reached out to distributors, and I've gotten feedback from suppliers where they've reached out to their distributors to take their temperature, and the response was, yeah, we need 24 more pallets.
Wow.
Yeah, there is absolutely
Jeez.
no discussion about turning off any faucets in terms of folks wanting this on their trucks and on their shelves. Absolutely not. The other inspiring thing is that this all started going down late last week. We picked up 2 or 3 new members over the course of the week of the weekend, and we've had other
It's
people
great.
upgrade their membership. So I don't think that anybody in the industry or in the category is deflated at all. I think everybody remains very bullish on the category. And again, I want to make clear, I've had unsolicited emails from large distributors saying, yep, this is what we expected. We don't expect this to be easy, but we know we can make this happen. So yes, retailers, distributors, consumers, producers, and everybody up and down the supply chain, it's business as usual. It's business as usual until we say otherwise. And I think everybody's going to recognize that. We saw this, this kind of got snuck in without discussion or debate. Congress can do a lot of things. What they want to, if there's enough people that want to solve a problem can get solved. And we are very hopeful that the folks that are interested in solving this problem and fixing this mess will rise up and do that.
So obviously, Senator Rand Paul was a big advocate for the hemp industry the other night, and you guys have been in contact with him and his office. What's the strategy from here? Is there still a chance that there can be anything change before this happens, or what comes next?
Well, this train of opening up the government is pretty far down the track. Now, we still have folks that are working to see what our options are at this point. So we're not giving up hope on, stopping this language from being inserted in the government shutdown. But we're also a little bit realistic that there is a probability that it will be in there, and we're going to have to live with the implications and ramifications of that bill getting signed. Really, the encouraging part is, and you'll see this as the news comes out more and more, that legislators that have robust regulatory frameworks in place for beverages and are seeing those tax revenues and the value it's bringing to consumers are going to start pushing back. They're going to start saying, we need to fix this mess that Congress created when they opened up the government. We know that a lot of legislators at the federal level who are in, there's dueling concerns. They want a hemp beverage category. Maybe their state already has one and it's thriving. But again, opening the government is a pretty big to do. And so, I don't think anybody should think of this vote as a vote against hemp. I think everybody should think of this vote as a vote to open up the government. And when you think of it in that framework, I think it's very reasonable to assume that the folks that want this category, that have seen the benefits of this category in their state, are going to work together to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, I think there's already been some outcry from some existing politicians who have cited the regulations, the tax revenue, the jobs in their own states. Obviously, those voices will get louder and more amplified. I think what I want to focus on next here is what actually can be accomplished in this next year, in the next 365 days. What's a realistic thing that, as a group of operators, individuals, consumers, fans of the space in general, what does the next year look like as far as what we could collectively accomplish?
Right. So the silver lining of having your relatively small issue affixed to the shutdown of the federal government is that all of a sudden everybody is aware of your category.
Yeah.
There are a
No
lot of people
presses.
on Capitol Hill that were not aware of our category and have been made acutely aware of our category now. The national media now has a much better understanding of the stakes now because this has been a burgeoning industry that maybe hasn't captured the national attention to the extent of other issues, etc. But now we are on the center stage as a category and as an industry, and I think that is a very positive development and the silver lining that may have come from this mess. So what can retailers and consumers and distributors, etc., do? Well, there's a lot of things. First of all, the first shameless plug is join the Hemp Beverage Alliance. Keep up to date on everything that's going on. HempBeverageAlliance.org is the easiest way to do that. Setting aside that shameless plug, most distributors, retailers, and hopefully consumers have access to reach out to their elected officials. And it doesn't necessarily need to be calling the President of the United States. You can call your mayor, you can call your state legislator, you can call your governor, and certainly be in contact with your congresspeople and your senators and let them know of the damage that this is causing for your business, your community, your way of life, whatever it is. There is an opinion that government is only listens to money, but I swear in my many years of doing this, people matter, and elected officials listen to people. And if they can get enough people saying the same thing, they can move the needle as much as any stack of dollar bills. So my recommendation to everybody up and down the supply chain and everybody that has a stake in or that is enjoying these products and wants to see them on the shelves and beyond a year from now is absolutely get engaged. Absolutely find that avenue that works for you, whether it's sending an email to your representative, talking to if you're in a supply chain group, talk to your trade association that represents you. If you have a relationship with any elected official, put a call into them and let them know what this is doing. The more noise we can make about this, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about bad actors and the need for regulation. First of all, kind of could you walk us through who these not
Who are
name
the
names,
bad
but like
actors?
who are the bad actors in terms of like what does that refer
No,
to? And
no,
then
absolutely.
yeah, walk us
The
through that real quick, and then
Yeah, the
we'll
bad
get to the
actors
follow.
are very simple, and the bad actors are the ones that have been on the dioceses of every press conference that every elected official that wants to ban our product has stated. These bad actors, and it's very clear, and we are in agreement that they are bad actors. There are products that are targeting children, or mostly targeting teenagers, but children nonetheless. That these products look like Oreos or Doritos or whatever. They have incredibly high milligram counts, sometimes 500, 1,000 milligrams per gummy. They're largely untested. They're largely mislabeled. They're ripping off name brands, Skittles, Twizzlers, Oreos, etc. And they're being sold to anybody that wants to come up and put their money on the barrel. Now, I think absolutely everybody in the Hemp Beverage Alliance, and certainly in that industry as a whole, completely disagrees with those practices and absolutely wants those off the shelves. We advocate for age gating our products, making sure our products are tested, that the milligram counts are sensible and so nobody gets over their skis, and that the labeling is consistent, empowers the consumer to make good choices, and obviously doesn't rip off, any other brand or anything like that. If you go to hempbeveragealliance.org, you can click on our regulatory principles. I think it's hempbeveragealliance.org/principles. You can see exactly what we stand for, and you'll notice that they're absolutely in support of smart regulation and certainly not at all what these bad actors are doing. So that's where we stand. We've seen these on press conferences over and over again. We agreed that those need to be off the shelves, off the market, off of production. The problem is that if you look at any of these labels, you don't know where they're coming from. There's no that you don't. There's they look funny, they look odd, but I mean, I have a pack at my house, and I for the life of me can't figure out who made it.
Yeah, I think that's leads perfectly into the next question. But before we dive in there, I think it is important to highlight that oftentimes, to no fault of their own, people who do follow the rules are lumped together with those who are there for a cash grab. And there is a lot of clamor around, doing something about that. But to your point, I think that has been the challenge is for people who do follow the rules, stay within the guardrails, and who are honest operators, it's impossible basically figure out who these people are, where these products come from. And on top of that, we don't have an enforcement ability ourselves. It's not like we can walk into that store and say, Mr. Retailer, you can't sell this anymore. Get this off your shelves. We can yell and be vocal, but I think that is a big challenge that oftentimes gets thrown our way, which is you guys should be louder or enforcing these bad actors, or you're being lumped together with these bad actors and it's bringing you all down. And I think it should be stated that there is a practicality element in all of this. I think
Mhm.
a lot of us who have built an honest operation agree that this is wrong and this should not be happening. The means of actually cracking down on that becomes so much more cumbersome and next to impossible to actually enforce without something bigger, broader, better to actually rein this in. But the follow up question I had for you is we've obviously seen prohibition attempted in the past, and
Mhm.
history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so, are we looking at a potential black market scenario here? I think some of the confusion stems around are state programs going to remain intact? Are these going to suddenly get discarded and the whole country is now forced to be at zero point 0.4 milligrams per container? Ultimately, who wins in that scenario? It would suggest that people who have been already not following the rules would stand to gain the most because all of a sudden they'll have less competition to compete against. So,
Yeah.
wondering if you could speak to kind of the prohibitionist mindset and some of the ramifications of banning a
Yeah.
category like this.
So I have immense optimism for this category. And so I'm not going to entertain the prohibition aspect of it. But I will say this when prohibition was repealed in what was it, 1933, I believe, or whenever it was, 33, 33. Let's just maybe edit that out. When prohibition was repealed,
29. No, understood. Go ahead.
it was not, nobody said, okay, well, it's repealed. Let's just, move on with our lives. There was immense pushback to change prohibition. And there was mass confusion. And there was, all of the things that we are experiencing right now is what was experienced when alcohol prohibition was repealed. It wasn't just like, okay, it's repealed. Let's just, move on to another issue. There was huge pushback. And to be clear, there is still pushback in the alcohol industry for prohibition. It's never going to change. Now, it's obviously been reduced. So I think that, from an optimist perspective, you need to look at this again, back to history, that this is not going to be an easily won battle. But we have the 2018 Farm Bill that legalized hemp and created this fantastic, thriving, regulated industry. It is, it is taking a punch to the gut this morning or this week. And we're going to dust ourselves off and we're going to push back to make sure that these products can still be made safely and produced in such a way and made available in such a way that adult consumers can enjoy them. That doesn't change. When we talk about how that's going to happen, who knows? We're in, and I don't mean that to be flippant, but I mean
Yeah, yeah.
there is not a vehicle established yet to do it. But we know this. We know that when folks get together with a common goal and work with elected officials that share that vision, we can make things happen. Anything 365 days is a long time. Certainly that's 25% of the age of our category.
Right.
We've only
Just
been
gotta
around.
say.
We've gotten a lot done in 3 years without any pressure like this. I can only imagine what we can get done in the next year. And so I don't want anybody to lose hope. I don't want anybody to think that this is the end of the discussion. I don't want anyone to be thinking about fire sales of their inventory. I am not a business advisor and I am not a legal advisor, but I will say this. We have not seen anybody say, hey, we're going to stop selling these. All we've heard is, yeah, we'll take more because the demand is so significant. And I will tell you this, most people that make money, uh, and they see an opportunity, or they see a situation in which making money may come to an end, I don't think they're just going to lay down and say, oh, we had fun
Yeah.
making money. Now we don't make money. I
Right.
think a lot of people are going
Yeah.
to stand up and fight for this category. That's been such a success for everyone.
Yeah. So you kind of answered the last question I had for you there. But besides joining the Hemp Beverage Alliance, another shameless plug, what's the message to other entrepreneurs, investors, and consumers who maybe are feeling discouraged right now? And what's the ultimate call to action for the next 12 months?
Yeah. So the ultimate 12 months is get engaged, get involved. Again, talk to your trade associations, talk to your elected officials, honestly, talk to your friends and family. If you are a consumer and just like, and I love these brothers, just, post on Instagram about the value about it. Every piece of information and every little bit of noise is going to add up to a thunderstorm of activity. In the next 3 days, in the next week, my recommendation to everybody in the business, calm down a little bit. It's very easy freak out. It's very easy to swing your arms in the air. I always say this is like, I don't know when the last time somebody got dumped by a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but your initial reaction is very seldom the right action. Calm down, handle the things that you know you can handle, which is talk to your supply chain, tell them that everything is still business as usual, talk to your consumers, tell them that everything is business as usual. And the same great products that they've been enjoying in the past are the same great products that they're going to enjoy in the future. As we move forward and we get more clarity and the dust settles on, what's happened in DC, we're going to have a pretty good idea on who is with us and what our challenge is before us. And so we're going to address that as we can. But what we don't want to do is make any goofy moves when we're in that red zone of, oh my God, what just happened? I know that's counterintuitive, but if I was your best friend when you got dumped and you're like, I've got a caller, I'd be like, no, brother, let's just kind of relax. And you would disagree with that, but then like 6 weeks later, you'd be like, hey, thanks for not letting me call her.
Chris, the irony in all this is if only there were products out there that could help people relax.
But there only was one available at a nearby age-gated liquor store or grocery. And yeah,
So
no,
just to be
absolutely.
clear,
Look,
or go ahead.
no, I think you were going to say what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Probably not. I think what I was going to ask you was, are you telling me it's a bad idea to change my homepage header to be a picture of Mitch McConnell having a CTA to call his office to all my customers? We should not go there yet. Everybody should just relax. That's your point.
Everybody is going to do what they're going to do. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
And
Yes.
the message that I gave to the HBA membership was the thing you should do is walk your dog, kiss your partner, send an angry letter to yourself, mail it to yourself. Take care of the things that you can take care of right now. We have a long battle ahead of us. If it makes sense for you to tell people to call Mitch McConnell, I'm not going to argue with it. But what I do know is that there are a lot of people that are not happy with this decision. And there are a lot of people that stand ready to step up and fight for this category. And just like I know, I would not recommend if you were to say to me, she broke up with me, should I get a tattoo of her name on my shoulder to show her I care? I would say, maybe not such a hot idea, but you can do what you want.
Awesome.
So,
Well,
look, it's frustrating,
Chris,
folks. I understand the dollars are your businesses, your livelihood, your identity is in the balance here, and I recognize that. I absolutely recognize that. And we're going to get through this for sure. So everybody's got to do what they got to do, whatever gets you through the night. I understand that, but rest assured that this category is going to be here today, tomorrow, the next day, the next month, the next year. The folks that are being harmed by this are not going to just take this lying down. And if anything, the good thing is that we are a national discussion right now in the media and on Capitol Hill, and all of those factors are in our favor.
Absolutely.
awesome. Chris, thank you so much for your leadership and for joining us today. For the listeners that want to learn more about the Hemp Beverage Alliance, it's hempbeveragealliance.org. And also to our audience, if you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with your network. Until next time, cheers.